For centuries, huge marsupial predators roamed Australia, instilling fear into even the most formidable megafauna of the continent. However, the arrival of indigenous people in Australia, combined with a changing climate, would spell an end to their reign 40,000 years ago. But what if, just maybe, these beasts were still lurking in the depths of the Australian bush to this day?
The shotgun and the 22, so he pumped a couple of shells into it, still basically just shook them off and wanted to kill us.
As I'm trying to come to and realising that I don't know what the this thing is, it turned its head and in one single bound it was into the grass.
This thing was huge. Huge.
And then they saw this thing creeping down the hill, and we were all like, what the hell is that? The bloke shot at it, and then it took off.
It was something like we'd never ever seen before.
I still to this day swear it's one of those.
The marsupial lion, the Queensland tiger, the Wonthaggi monster. Thylacoleo carnifex is known by many names. Stories of this apex predator have been passed down over generations, ever since the first Aboriginal people arrived in Australia. These animals were huge. On average, they reached 100 kilograms, around the size of a jaguar, but the largest individuals could exceed 160 kilograms, almost the size of a lioness. Size wasn't their only weapon, however, as they were equipped with canine-like incisors, meat cleaver-like carnassial teeth, and retractable thumb claws. This allowed them to prey upon the impressive megafauna they coexisted with, such as the 8-foot-tall short-faced kangaroo Procoptodon and the rhinoceros-sized wombat Diprotodon. Despite superficially resembling big cats, Thylacoleo was a marsupial, closely related to wombats and koalas. And, similar to koalas, it is believed these predators spent most of their time in the treetops, using their opposable claws to climb before dropping from the canopy onto their prey. A hunting strategy that closely mirrors stories of the fictional drop bears, carnivorous koalas that also drop straight from the trees. Sound familiar? Perhaps the drop bear wasn't just a joke made up to scare tourists, but may have actually been a cautionary tale depicting a real Australian animal. However, if drop bears were indeed based on a real creature, we don't have to be worried, as Thylacoleo has long been extinct. Or has it? Supposedly, these creatures met their end 40,000 years ago due to environmental change and hunting pressures from indigenous people who just recently inhabited Australia. While this is the current scientific consensus, reports of large carnivorous animals in the Australian bush have been popping up across the continent for decades, and still are to this day. What I find compelling about these accounts is how well they describe the real animal. Despite knowing these creatures only from bones, scientists have pieced together a pretty good picture of how the Thylacoleo would have looked and acted like. Coincidentally, these eyewitness accounts describe an animal that lines up pretty closely to our current understanding. Broad, ugly heads, bulky bodies, stiff kangaroo-like tails, powerful forelimbs and a swaggering gait. All features consistently described by these reports, which match the latest scientific knowledge. Now, of course, this could be explained by simply doing some research and creating a fake story. But this seems unlikely, as the Thylacoleo isn't a very well-known animal, especially to farmers living in the Australian bush, which is where a lot of these sightings come from. On top of this, they have little to gain, as these reports are primarily told anonymously without the promise of financial success or popularity. The consistency between unrelated reports describing similar features of the animal also further adds to the believability of these sightings. Now, if these reports are to be believed, then the question still remains: how could these creatures persist for 40,000 years without any proof of their existence? The answer might be their adaptability and elusiveness. Let's consider the main cause for their extinction: climate change. The continent of Australia was going through extreme environmental change 40,000 years ago, becoming much more dry and barren like we know it today. The lack of water sources resulting from this drove large megafauna like the diprotodon extinct. This, you would think, would cause a quick end to the marsupial line. However, despite their main prey source going extinct, Thylacoleo appeared to have persisted for a few thousand years after. This means that they were adaptable enough to survive on smaller prey for thousands of years after the extinction of megafauna like the giant kangaroos and wombats. Because of this, it's not entirely unreasonable to assume they could have survived today by hunting koalas, possums, and other smaller animals. No doubt, if these creatures do survive to this day, it is in incredibly small populations in the most remote regions of Australia's forests, making them incredibly difficult to find. So, what are the chances the Thylacoleo is still alive? Admittedly, very low, but it's not impossible. While a certain amount of skepticism is healthy, with the number of convincing eyewitness accounts, I believe it is important to also keep an open mind. After all, you never know what could be out there, waiting, in the deepest corners of the Australian bush. I want to thank the Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia for providing a huge amount of the information used as a basis for this video. If you want to check out the full, unedited eyewitness accounts of Thylacoleo and more strange Australian animals, there are dozens of videos to watch on his channel right above. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to check it out.